All right, all right, all right. Happy Monday, everybody. So let's just jump into this. I'm always looking around, and I think the art of listening to these conversations that people are having around buyer's agency, explaining things to sellers, commissions. I have to tell you, here's some good news for all of us. You are 150 steps at minimum ahead of everybody else. Minimum. I'm going to read something to you right now. And I'm going to tell you, like, this is what people are telling other agents. Now, mind you, this is a CEO of a national brokerage. And here's what this says. We have to get better at explaining our value propositions to home buyers. It's unreasonable for them to ask questions. It's not unreasonable for them to ask questions. So try this. Now, get this. Mr. and Mrs. Homebuyer, there are over 179 things I typically do when working with buyers. These are the essentials to making sure we get into the right home without mistakes and with as little emotional stress as possible. Really? Wait, it gets better. Number two, a commission misconception is that I get paid the gross commission amount. I don't. Is there any expenses that come off the top? As there are many expenses that come off the top first. Let me explain. Do you think anyone really cares if they're writing a $50,000 check that you have to pay for? The last time I checked, probably not. Number three, you were referred to me by Zillow, Realtor.com, or as I would say, in any other aggregate site. So I have to pay them the 30-40% referral fee of the gross commission amount. Again, does anyone really care about that? No. Number four, I work for a brokerage who provides training, products, services, errors and omissions insurance, and many other things needed in order to help people buy and sell real estate. So they take a piece of the compensation off the top. This is just getting like worse as it goes along, right? Number five, I'm an independent contractor. So unlike W-2 employees, I have to pay for everything on my own, including state and federal taxes, health benefits, Social Security, Medicare. I have no employer contributions. This ranges 30 to 50% of the gross commission amount. Have you ever seen something that's like so tone deaf and off base? Like, what does that show another person, or how does that show another person that you actually care? This is crazy. I'm telling you, I've just been watching what everyone says, how to handle all the buyer objections. Like, they want to fight with you, and like, it's court. I object to what you're saying. Judge, can I redirect? Really? This is not complicated. It really isn't. So for everyone here, what I want you to do is understand the massive opportunity that's in front of you. This is the greatest reset that I think anyone will ever experience in real estate. And if you're on the right side of this, there is so much market share that you can gain. There are so many different opportunities that you can have. And all you have to do is practice a conversation that I'm giving you today, and I've given you in the past. By the way, I have somebody new that's near and dear to me, Kristen Clark. Please, all of you, she's completely new to our community, so send her an email. She'll put her email in here. Introduce yourself. Let's get her into a role-playing group, an accountability group, and show her the community love. So, look, the next thing I want to touch upon in this is, how do we go about doing this? And let's get actually into these conversations. Number one, you're going to med see everyone. Gretchen Coley and I actually sat down and did this for about 250 team leaders in Florida. And let me tell you, people would have thought Med-C was like the most revolutionary thing, equivalent to changes that were made in the Industrial Revolution. By the way, remember the Industrial Revolution changed the entire way the business is operated? This is the Industrial Revolution in real estate. It is going to change. It will change. It's happening now. We're seeing it across the country. And no one has anything good that they're saying, because it's all this hokey pokey nonsense. In the end of the day, it's really simple. Does every human in the world have a right to understand what they're getting in exchange for the compensation they pay? So rule number one of commissions. Commissions are 100% negotiable. They have been since the beginning of time. The only difference today is people literally are bringing this to the surface. So you negotiate commissions in all kinds of different ways. And you don't necessarily think about it this way, but it's in exchange, right, compensation and consideration for what you get back of value. So when you're looking at a Toyota, a Hyundai, a BMW, a Mercedes, and a Bugatti, is that really a negotiation on compensation? Yes or no? Yeah. If you're looking at different hotels, is that a negotiation on compensation? 100%. They're saying to you, this is the service that we offer, and this is what we charge in return. So get used to saying this statement. The investment for my service is blank. The investment for my service is blank. You notice I didn't use the word charge. You know, I didn't use the word fee. The investment for my service is blank. People like investing in things that are important to them, right? Things that you do not want to say. Take the word standard or common out of your vocabulary. Standard implies price fixing and collusion, and it's how this NAR got us into this whole stupid mess in the first place. People showing up with pre-filled listing agreements. They felt like people were steering people in a certain way. Look, this is the investment for the services that I offer. Would you like to move forward? This is the investment for the services I offer. Would you like to move forward? So you're looking at our coaching program. I'm going to go through it, explain the whole coaching program. At the end, I would say, you know, I would say, Brad, this is the investment for our coaching program. Shannon, this is the investment for our coaching program. Would you like to move forward and partner together? You can say that to a buyer, right? This is the investment for a service. Would you like to move forward and partner together? Does that sound like complicated at all? No. All right, now let's start going through some of these actual scenarios. So you're going to med see somebody and you're going to understand this. You're going to understand who they are, what they want. Med C stands for motivations, expectations, disappointments, and concerns. So if you're buying a home, I'd say, you know, buying a home and moving is about as fun as paying taxes, something no one wants to do, something you have to do at times. Well, not at times, something you have to do. So what makes this the right time to make a move? They're going to share what it is. I'm going to say, oh, so you're looking to downsize and move to Florida. Great. You want to repeat back a couple words. The next one is, so as a result of moving to Florida, what are you most excited about happening? Now they've literally told you their why, and they've accessed the pleasure point of their cortex in their brain and telling you what they're excited about happening. So now you know what to sell to, what to go back to, and everything else. The next part is, what are your expectations as an agent you partner with this for the purchase of your home? They're going to tell you what that is. Oh, great. So your expectations are blank and blank. Perfect. You know, in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations of blank, insert what they just said, shows you're a great listener. What are your expectations in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations? It's important that we understand what past disappointments you had with agents or service providers, so we ensure that they don't happen during this process. This is where all the money is. This is where you build your whole connection. And you're going to say, great, so your disappointments are blank, blank, blank. And lastly, do you have any concerns with moving forward, such as the volatility in interest rates, inflation, not finding a home? All those concerns are your hidden objections. So now you know exactly how to sell to somebody. So then I would say to someone is, look, you know, what specifically are you looking for in an agent you partner with for the purchase of your home that you feel you can't do on your own? What specifically are you looking for in an agent you partner with for this in the purchase of your home that you feel that you can't do on your own? If you meet anyone, I would say that question to yourself 1,000 times in the mirror, Shannon. Over and over and over again. Because guess what's going to happen? Someone's going to say something to you just like this. Why do I need a buyer's agent? Why do I have to pay you commission? You know what I would say? Like, actually, you know what? You don't have to pay me anything. There's a lot of things that you can do on your own, your buyer. So the goal is to see if our service is the right investment for you. So what specifically are you looking for in an agent that you partner with for the purchase of the home, for your home, that you feel that you can't do on your own? They're going to tell you. Is that really difficult? And then you listen. And once you understand your value proposition, it's clear, it's concise, it's quantifiable. You take the tools out of your belt and you just speak to them through the eyes of their goals and expectations. This is not rocket science. This is just learning how to talk about what we already do. All of you are great agents. Remember we talked about experience mapping? Well, now we're going to talk about conversation mapping. I'm going to start selling these from my website, these Post-it things. I'm going to get like branded CSC ones with prompts and stuff. So you get one of these things, large Post-it notes. And now here's what you're going to want to talk about. Number one, you're going to map out all the different journey lines of your buyers. So what can a buyer feel that they could do on their own? Let's talk about, we're going to workshop this instead of me giving you the answers to prompt you all to think. If a buyer says, I don't know if I need an agent, I feel like I could do it on their own. Like, what can they really do on their own? Someone can just unmute themselves and speak.
Search for properties online.
Search for properties online. Number one. What's the
Go
next
to
one?
open houses.
Go to open houses.
Knock on someone's door.
All right. The likelihood of that one happening is extremely low, but there are people like that out there.
Contact the listing agent.
Contact the listing agent. If this was Family Feud, this would be ding, ding, ding. Contact the listing agent, number one. Number one is search for properties. Number two is contact listing agents. Number three is going to open houses. What else can a buyer effectively do on their own?
Find their own lender.
Find their own lender. Anybody else? Survey says, okay.
Make an offer.
Make an offer. Do they even know how to write their offer, position their offer, present themselves strategically as a client? Probably not.
I've had people say they're going to hire an attorney to write up the offer.
So you can pay an attorney. So they could go through and, like, you know, someone saying to you, well, I feel that I don't really need an agent. Say this is an open house, right? Well, I don't really need an agent. I could do it myself. Great. What do you feel you could do yourself? And then a lot of times they're having a conversation, or the best are the people who is the people that will set up an appointment, meet them in person, and then say they could do it on their own. You ever have that happen? Right? It happens all the time. So then I would say to somebody in that case, hey, I know your time, Kristen, is really valuable. So if you feel that you could do it on your own, what specifically had you come here today? And I go right to the question. Hey, these things all 100% can happen. If you were to partner with an agent in the purchase of your home, what specifically would the agent do that you feel you can't do on your own? You see, all roads lead back to the same thing. So what you want to do is conversation map out those conversations. They can look for properties. How do you walk through that conversation? They can go directly to the land. They can go directly to the listing agent. Great. They can map out that conversation. What makes them think an attorney is cheaper? Plus, how many know that they should be talking to an attorney that specializes in real estate? Probably not a lot. But remember, I say this to my son all the time, you're the smartest person in the room because you could answer all your own questions. So what you don't want to do is tell people that they're wrong. Like, why would you be searching on that website? Great. So the one choice that they made that they shared with you, let's start a conversation of building rapport by telling them that they're wrong. That's a great way to start a collaborative conversation. Let's not and say we did it. But the things, all of these crazy cockamamie things people do, there are thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of agents, if not millions that do this, 1 million plus people that do this every day because they have no training and they don't want to have training and they're in denial that they're salespeople, which I hope we're all past at this point. You have to know how to talk to people. And we're like, as a team, it's funny. Someone had a marketing idea this last week. They go, Chirag, we should really go back and find all your videos from earlier this year and last year and even the year before that talk about this happening. I've been talking about this for like 1.5 years. I feel like Mel Gibson in Conspiracy Theory, but at the end of the movie when all of his crazy shit was true. So you want to map out these conversations. There's not that many different things that could be outcomes. Does that make sense? And then practice them over with each other over and over and over and over and over again. All right, let's talk about sellers now. You do realize you're going to have to talk to your clients about this, right? So who here wants to be brave and share how they would share compensation with a seller? Usually some family member thought it was a cheaper way to go. All right, so I got a great question with that. You know, has there ever been a time where you went with the cheapest option that got you the best results? And is that a risk you're willing to take when buying the largest financial asset of your life? I would literally walk them through this. I would say, look, there's just like 4 distinct phases. Is one, it's now the consultative process. 2, it's the experience of actually finding a home, narrowing the thing. And I would use this line. I would say, look, you know, we believe that a home is where you build memories, a community is where your life happens, and our goal is to pair the 2 together to provide you the perfect lifestyle. So what type of lifestyle are you looking for in and outside of your home and the community? And they're going to tell you. Then there's the process of after closing to contract. And then there's after, right? So you're going to ask a buyer questions like this. Could you imagine having a major surgery and not having a pre-op procedure, a conversation, having a doctor learn your health history and everything else? You would say no. Would you ever go to a lawyer on one of the most important litigation matters of your life and not have a pre-trial conference and have them understand what your goals are, what your expectations are, and everything else and make a plan? No. So if you're buying the largest financial asset in your life, and you would not do that for a surgery or going to court, would you ever risk doing that for this type of purchase? And then when you say it in that context, it sounds really good, right? And you say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But that's framing. That is a sales tactic. Look, how it starts is how it goes. If these people don't want to understand in a volatile interest market, inflation market, low inventory, high purchase prices, that whole process, how serious are they really about buying a house? And how many problems will come up? Like for people like Irene in New York City, could you imagine a client trying to do the co-op process on their own? Good luck. The amount of paper, it's like you literally wipe out a small forest of trees every time you do a board application. They're literally, I kid you not, they're like this much paper. There's all of Compass's profitability in New York City. The papers is printed out and the ink that's used during the board application. So who wants to share how they would share this new world with their sellers? Does anyone know? Anyone have an idea? So if you're like Chelsea and you're working with very high-end people, right? $7.2 million average price point, I remember, is going forward, you have to explain. You're going to literally frame the conversations and say, look, I want to be very clear, like in anything you do in the world, compensation is 100% negotiable. Now, what I want to do is walk you through the different ways and options for potential buyer agent compensation, align with which one works best for you through the eyes of your goals and expectations. And then we can align on the investment for our services. Would that be okay? I'm telling you, man, I got the words. I got you, all of you. So it's like, if you were ever in a program, it's like, this is like the one pillar that we know that we feel that we're stronger at, than pretty much I would, I've been trying to get somebody to set up a pitch off where they could put all the major coaches, including me, on a stage, and we could all practice pitching off against each other at a real deal or in confidence. I like my chances in that. So what I came up with, has anyone ever seen the movie 8 Mile? Now you're going to all laugh at me. Anybody? Right. So in 8 Mile, it's about a rapper, Eminem. Even if you haven't watched it, most people know who it is. And so he's doing these freestyle battles, right? So in the end, he gets to the final phase and he's battling Papa Doc, who's currently like the king of the freestyle world there, to just keep things simple. So essentially what he does is he takes everything that they're going to say about him and say it up front. In the end, he passes the mic. He's like, tell these people something that they don't already know about. I'm like, this is the 8 Mile strategy is what you want to use for this. You need to frame the conversation like, look, it's 100% negotiable. There are 3, maybe 4 different scenarios, depending on your state, local laws, that could happen. And I want to go through them and see which one works best for you. So the first thing you want to have prepared in explaining this to a client, a seller, is you want to print out all the other homes in there and currently on the market that they would compete against. You want to understand what the compensation being offered out for those listings are. So you could say the first scenario and put the 500-pound elephant first is you don't have to offer out any compensation to a buyer's agent. Nothing. The second scenario is you could offer out a flat fee or a defined percentage. The third scenario is I can take the investment that you're going to make in my services and share and incentivize half of it with a buyer's agent. Or the fourth one is, regardless of whether we do 1, 2, or 3, buyers will write in their offer, seller to pay buyer compensation a blank. Which one of these do you think works best for you? And let's start off by providing the details and context for the ones you want to know about the most. Is that a very consultative, high-level way of talking about this? You've already done everything. So the other thing is that we're making for essentially our community and all of you is, could you imagine going to a seller or a buyer, like, have you ever wondered exactly what an agent does in exchange for the compensation they receive? They're going to say, yeah, because if you poll thousands of clients, they have no idea. Now, you're going to say, this is what a buyer's agent does. And you'll show from the time that they go to a house and even some of the stuff before, and then you'll show what you do for a seller. And you can say, this is how it works. And this is why we think it's beneficial that a person has an agent, because if they do, they're going to have someone support them through this, which enhances the ability for the transaction to potentially go through and get you the right buyer. So if you don't want to incentivize a buyer, that's 100% okay. But with volatility in interest rates, the current economy, inflation, people can be cash sensitive. So if you're okay, and I don't know if this could happen or it could not happen, a buyer not having the funds and thinking that they have to pay out of pocket to buy your $7 million house, they might not come. And if you don't mind and you're okay with that, then I'm good too. Do you see how we did that? Number 2, you might offer out a flat fee or a defined percentage, which is fine, but the buyer again would have to come out of pocket for the difference, which could or could not incentivize people to come. The third one is the way that we have done it in the past. Don't say the industry, don't say my company, don't say anything stupid. It's the way that we've done it in the past, and it appears your competition is doing it in the same way. Did anyone just see what I did? We're making it seem that this is what other people are doing because that's what the fact is. And the fourth one is, regardless if we do scenario 1, 2, or 3, there's a real world scenario that with this all happening and more agents securing buyer's agents agreements and having compensation agreements up front with their clients, there could be an opportunity where even if we offer 0, that they put it in the offer that if you want to take their offer, you will have to pay their fees to the buyer as part of the settlement. The same thing in the second scenario, and potentially even the same thing in the third scenario. So based on that, what do you think works best for you? So we have some stuff about Texas here. Well, the same thing, the buyer needs you, right? So look, Tracy, we're going to build out for our clients an entire list of all the things that a buyer does. And you can ask them this question. Have you ever wondered what an agent does in exchange for the compensation they receive? You can literally hand them, it's going to be like a list like this, right? And you're going to say, what you're probably thinking is that this is a lot. The next thing you're probably thinking, it might be overwhelming. And the third thing you're thinking, which is the most important one, is how does this have anything to do and benefit me? Well, the goal of this conversation is to understand in this conversation, we want to understand clearly what your goals and expectations are and curate this entire experience of what we do to you and what's most important. And they're going to say, oh, okay, that sounds great. What you have to remember, the biggest blessing in all of this is all of these people that are like the orphan people that literally will orphan you if you show them 472 houses, giving your evenings, weekends, calls, texts, emails, missed out on things in your kids' lives or important things in your life. They will leave you for somebody else. I always used to joke around, you know, would you, when we're partnering together and finding your home, would you like me to commit to you in this process? They go, absolutely. And I'd like you to commit to me. Can I explain to you how that works? I only work with a certain amount of buyers. Each person gets a time slot, and these are the services that I offer. And if you want to think about it in the simplest form, you and I need to be monogamous with each other, but you also need to realize as soon as I leave that I'm a polygamist. And people just laugh. Like, okay, I get it. Would you want to be in a relationship with somebody that went and dated other people or even wanted to date other people or had those wandery eyes? The answer is no. So our goal of this conversation is to understand if we're mutually a good fit and that I can meet and exceed your goals and expectations through the services that I provide, and that if it's a good investment for you. If it is, great. If it's not, that's okay too. You see how many different talk tracks we had here doing the same thing? I haven't sold real estate in 4.5 years, except like the 3 people that forced me to do it. And each one of those, if I can humor you if you want humor, but they were all very interesting transactions. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to share one as an example for you. I had a woman who I sold 7, 8 properties for. Very affluent investor. She lent people money. She had this one house that flooded. Literally, they had to turn all the power and everything off. I met her, and in the middle of like the renovation, she literally disappeared. The property tax for $40,000 a year. Well, she resurfaced 3.5 years later. Now, at this point, I had my own coaching company. I don't live in New York State anymore. I don't live in Westchester County. Probably the worst person you have for an agent because I have a packed calendar. So she asked me, she says, you know, I have to sell my house. How are you? Everything's great. And she's like, can you sell my house? I go, no, I tried talking her out of it. Right. And she goes, oh, okay. Let me ask you one last question. She goes, you got license? I was like, excuse me. She goes, you got New York State license? I go, yeah. And then she goes, you a liar. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, you promised me that you'd sell all my properties and everything else. I was like, I'm not going to be available. I'm not. Any person with the same brain would say yes. She goes, I won't bother you. I won't do anything. And I know she goes, prices are property high and we can make a big price improvement within 3 weeks. So we priced it high, we brought it down, we bid the thing up. Well, I had 2 people who generally in their culture love to negotiate. She's coming down on price. The buyers, I bid them up and they got over the original asking price. So they took the inspection as an opportunity to renegotiate. Now they found a couple warped flooring because I wasn't part of the whole thing. And they asked for some crazy credit to replace all the floors. Well, this woman decided to drive down here because it violated her principles. She counted the floors. She was really upset. She said, you know what she did? She unilaterally on her floor ripped out all the vinyl flooring in this 7,000 square foot house and replaced it with bamboo. And then turns around to me and goes, go get me $40,000 more. Or cancel the deal. And in this process, she tried to find a buyer, let me keep both sides of the commission, offered to lend them the money to buy her house and have me sell their house. And I was like, no. I was like, I told you one deal and I'm done. You're letting me out of this lifetime commitment. So now what did I do? Well, she says, okay, great, cancel the deal. I go back to the seller's agent. I'm like, listen, my client wants $40,000. If not, she cancel the deal. The lady started screaming, yelling, and cursing at me. I said, okay, great. Let me go back and tell my client. I went back to my client. I told her you could cancel the deal. You could start over. She said she didn't care. I said, okay, great. Let me go back to the client. I went back to the buyer's agent who told me way too much information. It was her brother-in-law. Their lease was extended. They couldn't stay where they were. I go, I have some unfortunate news for you. My client's canceling the deal because on principle, she doesn't like what your clients did. So unless you either want to kick in your commission, they want to pay, I'm really sorry. Good luck. Within 3 seconds, she gave up the money. It's not my choice. It's their choice. Ask questions, always be in agreement with the client, always in the client's benefit. No telling, no explaining, no combative. This stuff works every single time. But how are you providing value? That's what this simple process comes down to. How good are you at communicating this? I communicate this well because I'm practicing and I'm practicing and I'm practicing. And more people are reaching out to me individually. Shrug, I don't care what it costs. I want to fly to your office, sit here for your day and have you build this out and teach it to me. Fine, great. You can do this 100%. So let me just walk you through. I've gotten close to 100 emails that I have not responded to about what is revenue roadmap, what is Navigator, and everything else. So let me just break this down here for you in like 90 seconds or less. Essentially, we have the playbook, which is what you're in now, like live group coaching. We built end-to-end sellers, which is initial conversation to closing and everything in there. We built out an end-to-end buyers too, which will give you a buyer consultation, the exact script to use, everything from showing emails, email templates, how do you negotiate position offers, the whole entire thing. And we realized the most valuable thing in partnering with you for next year, because I keep going back to the word partnership, is putting all three of our programs together at the same price. Now, what we realized was everyone comes here for something different, and everyone has different goals, different expectations, and different skill levels. So we actually built out an entire role, which is a Compass AEM and supported by our two former other Compass employees. And pretty much the Navigator will put you through an assessment. It'll spit out an entire report based on your goals and what the results of the assessment were. If you're a team leader, we're doing this for you and all of your team members. So everyone's getting customized coaching. And every 90 days, you're going to get a new assessment. The Navigator is going to make sure you're never alone. We'll be tracking your numbers. We'll be making sure that you're going to the right sessions. We have live prospecting every week that I'm going to host, so I can make sure that if you did nothing else for the entire year but show up once a week for 30 to 60 minutes on the day that we have this, you'll grow your business. Anything you need, you can write in the chat. I'm just going to spit it right out. It's like Ask Jeeves, that old school website. And this is the way that we find people to be most productive, because what we don't want is an oversaturation of information, learning new information, and a lack of implementation. So we figured out how to personalize this journey for all of you. So that's what next year will look like. And every 90 days, because we realized like you can go to one great session a week based on your goals, then go to prospecting and focus on implementation. And over 90 days, you'll get 12 mini transformations, and then you could stack as the year goes along. So if you're all into buyers, the only thing that should be shared with you are buyer classes. If you're only into sellers, it should be sellers. If you're a team leader, we have a great 12-month team leader mastermind, where half of them I'll lead, the other half I found 6 #1 agents in their market, if not the state, to share exactly how they run their businesses with you. This is like the coolest thing we've ever put together. And I've been talking about experience mapping around the room. This is what we've done. It took us 26 of these beloved Post-it notes to figure out every different scenario that a human could go through so we could account for it. Look, for those of us that are all on this journey together, you will have everything you need and you will be ahead of everybody else. Like I told you, you're already 150 steps ahead, but we're finishing out our buyer consultation, the script book. Out of the 7-hour listing presentation thing, we're making a listing presentation conversation guide. So all the things that you need, all the essential skills, every word, every process, every email that you need to work with buyers and sellers are going to be handed to you in January. So if you're in both of these programs, like Shannon, don't worry, you're just getting upgraded. So this is what we believe the solution is for everyone. And in the interim, just keep practicing. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your dream. And know that anything is possible for you. If anyone's ever been on a fitness journey and lost a bunch of weight or been able to grow physically, you know anything's possible. In 2000, I would say 16, maybe 16, 17, I was 203 pounds. I could barely do a push-up and a pull-up. And like within the last year of my life, I could do 100 pull-ups in less than 9 minutes. Things take time, but if you put in the work, it'll get there. You all that are parents just need to do the same things you tell your kids every day. Don't give up on your dreams, to make sure you go to practice. You'll be fine. I wish I could have everyone's children follow them to work every day and sit and listen to one of these coaching calls, like, Mommy, Daddy, okay, so how are we going to do the stuff that Mr. Coach was saying? And then you'd be like, oh God, now I really have to do this. Make your kids your accountability partners. It'll have a profound impact on your life. So we're a few minutes over. As always, love in my heart. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow. We'll continue this conversation and just practice. Bye, everybody.